Fruit when it's ripe, and veggies prepared just right, but that can be hard to find.
Corn chips. Yes, salty, heavenly, crispy corn chips. From the farmer to the table, with a little bit of science in between. Today, genetic modification is not only making life better with chemistry, but also nourishing millions of children around the world by providing local farmers with enhanced seed that eventually sprouts into almost every product in the pantry. One salty corn chip has a history peppered with creativity and ingenuity, starting in a laboratory with a few selected genes inserted into the corn DNA that later flourished into a brilliantly designed, pesticide-resistant corn cob. When the corn is finally prepared to enter the gaping chasms of thousands of hungry mouths, producers stash it away in 80% of marketable foods, especially in additives that keep products fresh, tasty, and nutritious. Many people fear the unknown risks of modified foods. However, few consumers recognize that today their shopping carts would be empty without GMOs. Although heightened controversy over GMOs has brought scrutiny to the biotechnology industry, genetic modification provides the foundation for future economic, social, and environmental innovation that could satiate an increasingly malnourished world.
Corn chips. Yes. Genetically modified, deceptive, unwholesome corn chips. From the laboratory to the table with a lot of farming in between. Today, genetic modification is not only destroying the environment, but also stealing the livelihood of local farmers. One salty corn chip has a history peppered with tyranny and ignominy, starting in a laboratory with several selected genes thrust into the corn's DNA that later manifest into a human-made, widespread, ecosystem-destroying corn cob. When the corn is finally prepared to penetrate the human body, it infiltrates organs with substances like Bt, Bacillus thuringiensis, which make the plants resistant to herbicides that are not meant to be ingested and are wreaking unknown havoc inside the body. GMOs compromise the Earth's and its inhabitants' health and venture into scientifically unknown areas because they have not been around long enough for a long-term study. However, they have been around long enough to damage the agricultural economy. Many people are oblivious to the risks of modified foods, and few consumers fully understand how perilous these products truly are. The effects of GMOs on human health are unknown. Allergies that are specific to certain organisms, like nut allergies, can be transferred to new organisms due to the gene splicing method used to create the GMs. 1 out of 8 people in America are allergic to soy, and 94% of the soybeans produced in America are GMs. This provides a perfect example of how hard it would be to differentiate allergies to soy or a reaction to the GMOs. Genetic exchange between species can wake up dangerous dormant viruses in the human genes. Rats and humans share many of the same genes. The International Journal of Biological Science published a study in which rats were fed varying amounts of GM corn over a 90-day period. When the rats were tested at the end of the study, it was observed that most of the rats showed signs of hepaternal toxicity, which is a progressive kidney failure from the nitrogen buildup due to the lack of urine being released from the body. Other negative health effects were shown in the heart, spleen, adrenal, and blood cells.
While some consumers fear that GMOs are unsafe, the genetic industry is more highly regulated and continuously scrutinized than any other conventionally grown food. Biotechnology crops are subject to 9 stages of review by the EPA, FDA, and USDA over 10 years before being released to the market. Conventionally grown foods, on the other hand, are not necessarily tested to health and safety standards at all. Non-GM spaghetti on the market today has been laced with cobalt-60 to improve starch content, However, the effects of this heavy metal have never been tested. Meanwhile, genetically engineered soybeans endured 1,800 reviews for safety and precision before being approved for human consumption. Anti-GMO consumers who eat unregulated, conventionally grown foods fail to recognize that, in fact, GMOs may be the safer solution. Genetically modified products continue to dominate every niche in the market, stock the pantry shelves of every household, and feed families at every meal. At the current rate of production, the entire market will be saturated by GMOs by 2025, meaning that every bite of packaged food will contain GMOs. In 2000, over 100 million acres, or about twice the area of the UK, of GMO crops were grown in the US alone. Monsanto, one of the world's largest agricultural biotechnology corporations, has spearheaded this expansion by providing farmers with enough GM seed to grow 2.4 billion gallons of soybeans, enough to fry over 240 million turkeys with soybean oil. From their headquarters in St. Louis, Missouri, Monsanto has extended their GMO seed to over 66 countries, not to mention the widespread distribution of food additives that contain GM-based components. Consumers are forced to realize that their dinner depends on GMOs.
GM farms are slowly deteriorating the livelihood of local organic farmers. Their seeds can be spread up to 400,000 miles away from where they were originally planted. If GM seed is found on an organic farm, there are major consequences from both sides. From its own side, organic farmers can have their crops, land, or whole farm decertified for more than 10 years. These farmers can also be sued due to the patent on life from Monsanto. Even if the seeds are not intentionally planted, the outcomes are devastating to a farmer's source of income. Although the GM seeds yield a bigger crop, they are easily crippled by disease due to their lack of biodiversity. Biodiversity can also make smaller farms more productive in places like Nigeria, Peru, Syria, and Mexico. Monsanto's chief executive once said that it is truly easy to make money dealing with very primary needs: food, shelter, clothing. GM crops provide a better way forward for Monsanto's profits, but could be a huge step backwards for the world's poor because they place more importance on the amount of profit they rake in rather than the good of the people.
In a world of ever-increasing agribusinesses and large-scale farms, the modern food market is fueled by GMOs that stimulate economic growth. According to Monsanto, agriculture is the nation's largest employer, providing livelihood for more than 23 million farmers worldwide. Monsanto alone employs over 21,000 people who work to fill supermarket shelves with cheap and nourishing products. The life science industry has become a cornucopia of profit for entrepreneurs to make business from biology, thereby bringing food to the table and enhancing the economy. GeneTech, a biotechnology corporation, raised over $36 million on the stock market by selling shares in 1999, even before introducing their product to the market. This extensive shareholder support indicates that consumers are optimistic about future development in food science. Global research and scientific invention will create new niches for employment as the ever-growing population increases demand for more efficient agriculture. Genetic engineering creates a domino effect of economic activity, supporting everyone from the farmer to the consumer to the businessman.
While GMOs may increase profits for major corporations, they can have devastating environmental effects. Biodiversity strengthens an ecosystem and reduces the chances of injuries that it can experience. GM crops destroy the biodiversity. GM plants also destroy ecosystems through the potential danger of gene transferring, like what is shown in superweed. The gene that transfers to the weeds makes them resistant to herbicides and pesticides, which cause GMs to be useless. There are 38 resistant superweeds, and they infest over half of the acreage in America alone.
As environmental activists vehemently denounce genetic engineering, the GMO industry has actually created surprising environmental benefits. According to Monsanto, GMOs have reduced pesticide use by 379 million pounds through the Roundup Ready seed that grows into plants with internal immunity against pest, disease, and droughts. When fewer plants are lost to pests and disease, crop yield increases, allowing farmers to minimize their carbon footprint through the higher production. Drought-resistant and fortified GM plants allow the farmers to switch to no-till agriculture, which prevents erosion and decreases CO2 emissions from heavy tilling machinery. In 2004 alone, GMOs lowered fossil fuels to the equivalent of taking 5 million cars off the road. Some environmental activists claim that the so-called superweeds grow resistance to herbicides due to genetically modified gene transfers. However, weeds, or highly adapted plants growing in competition with cultivated crops, have always existed. The latest superweeds are simply a management problem, not an ecological problem, and therefore must be combated through herbicide cocktails, or mixtures of multiple herbicides. Through the rapid cultivation of desired traits, GMOs drastically outcompete conventional breeding methods in the race to engineer solutions to growing hunger. Hardship is not far from home. In the U.S. alone, 3 million households are labeled food insecure, where families are left hungry every day. Genetic engineering may provide a solution. Golden rice, a strain of GM rice engineered with high beta-carotene vitamin content, has the potential to feed millions of hungry mouths in poverty-stricken third world countries. For corporations such as Monsanto, sustainability has taken the center stage as depleting natural resources create new challenges for food producers.
Although GMs seem like the ideal solution to ending world hunger, there are many underlying facts that most people do not know about the world's shortage of food. World hunger is not caused by a shortage of food. It is now due to the lack of money to purchase food. The production of cash crops has undermined local food security. In a 1997 study, it was shown that 78% of malnourished children lived in countries with food surplus.
The agricultural industry has always been a seedbed of modernization, but GMOs have stimulated revolutionary change, increasing the potential for future growth in aquaculture and animal industries. According to the National Academy's Press on Science Friday, humans have been playing with the genetic makeup of their food for millennia. In the U.S. today, 9 GMO fruits and veggies are sold on the market. Transgenic foods have given humans a new power to control their own source of life. For example, in 2011, Aqua Bounty genetically engineered salmon to grow twice as fast as natural conventional salmon, which allowed producers to increase market size and efficiency.
The production of GM plants have led to the beginning of cloning animals. Many people view the cloning of animals as highly unethical. Safeway, the second largest grocery store in America, opposes genetically engineered Aqua Bounty salmon. Aqua Bounty fails to meet the same regulations year after year. GM animals overall just present endless possibilities of damages and disaster.
The world is becoming a barren battlefield where the farmer fights against the insect, harbinger of destruction and famine. While the pests ravage farmers' crops, modern biotechnology may provide a solution: genetic engineering. Yet, another war silently rages in the crowded aisles of the supermarket. A war between consumed and consumer. A gene war.
While both the biotechnology industry and skeptical consumers are fighting to find a better solution for the future of the food market, their efforts against each other only hinder their efforts toward this goal. By reaching across the aisle and pooling their resources, people will be able to fill their shopping carts and work together to eradicate world hunger. One day, by teaming with organics, GMOs could provide the foundation for salty snacks that everyone would be able to savor in peace.
Corn chips.
Everybody's arguing about GMOs. When you change plants and animals' genetic code, they do it to remove or add a certain trait, tomatoes that won't rot, drought-resistant grain. You could do it by adding or deleting DNA. The species that you use don't even have to be the same. It's transgenic. People panic when they hear the fish genes are added to strawberries to help them not to freeze. But can GMOs help with the crisis mounting? It's a challenge to feed 7 billion